Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Legacy Farm, the podcast. I'm your host, JC Young, and today's topic of discussion is this: sedating away the holidays. So we're coming into the end of the year here, and I'm going to speak about in this podcast as a man and the difficulties that I know a lot of men are going to run into going into the last couple of months here of the year and going through specifically Thanksgiving, but then also December as well. Now, if you've had a year where things have just not went well, and just so you know, 2016, 2017, 2018 were arguably the worst and most challenging years of my life across every standpoint, from marriage to being a father and raising kids, and especially on the financial side. But as men and as business owners, totally get, like, we feel it more on the financial side there. But now, if you've had a tough year so far, I'm just going to talk about some of the things that people are going to go through here, and this is going to be a very real and raw type of podcast here. But most men right now, again, if you've went through the entire year, things just went bad, right? And you're starting to put together year-end numbers, or maybe you're not doing that. You just know things aren't going to be good, so you don't even want to put the numbers together, which, again, I totally get that. And I've been there before, but then I've worked with hundreds of customers over the years as well that have been through that experience too. But the negative side of this is that if the year went so terrible, it's really easy for us to sink our sorrows into sedation when we get into Thanksgiving and December and Christmas, especially. You know, these holidays are supposed to be about, you know, having gratitude, being thankful, spending time with family and all that type of stuff there. But the reality is, as a business owner, especially for me back in 2016, 17, and 18, I had zero desire to be around anybody. To be honest, I drank way more than what I should have. I did not take care of my body. I did not feel like working out. I did not feel like doing anything. I didn't feel like talking to anybody because my life was in such a shitty place that I didn't want to be anywhere. I just wanted to basically be by myself. And the problem with this, though, is I was miserable to be around, especially with my wife and my children. I think back to that time and I'm like, man, could you have fixed it? And to be honest, I don't know that I could have, because I was so frustrated with where I was at in business and where I'd put our family financially that I just didn't give a shit. Like, just to be honest with you, that's what I'm saying. Like, you drink way more than what you should. Men use other things in the form of sedation as well, whether that's drugs, if you have access to that, whether that's porn, whatever that is. If you're a man listening to this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's really easy for men to try to sedate away that pain today. And if you're a woman listening to this, just understand, like, these are the things that your husband goes through, and these are the challenges and things that we're dealing with in today's, you know, just world that we live in here. But anyways, I wanted to bring this up because a lot of you are going to be going through this going into, you know, Thanksgiving and Christmas here. And again, I totally get it, understand where you're going to be at. But my question for you is like, when are you finally going to do something about it? Right. And what I mean by that is it took a massive lesson for me in 2018 to realize that nobody's coming to save me. Like, every reality, everything that I had created in my life was created by me. There was nobody else to blame. And it took me a long time to do that. And, you know, I read a quote one time that says, a boy doesn't become a man until he recognizes that nobody's going to come to save him. Right. And that's just a huge thing, because when I left the banking industry in 2016, the reality is I still acted like a boy until 2018, right? Where I went through that pivotal experience in my life, and I recognized, and it was like God screaming in my face, hey, man, not coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save you. You have to do it yourself, meaning you have to do all the things you've been avoiding doing the past 3 years here. You have to face all the demons that you've avoided facing, and you have to handle your shit on your own. And what's crazy is once I started doing that, and first off, I had to accept it, which that drive back for me from the situation that I was in back then. I had a long 14-hour drive that day, and that was like my longest discussion with God ever, and that's when he told me that nobody's come to save me. Man, that trip, gosh dang, that was tough. That was a very tough time in my life, but it's exactly what I needed to go through to accept the fact that nobody's come to save me. And then I started a different journey from there on, where I just didn't give a shit anymore. It's like I had to go through that to let go of all my fears around what everybody was going to think about me or anything like that. And just so you know, I recorded the first video for Legacy Farmer after that experience, right? And so anyways, I bring all this up because I want to try to get you to that point. If you're listening to this podcast and you're going through this and you recognize exactly where you're at and you resonate with my story and going through that, and you're tired of this just endless cycle of going through the holiday season and just drinking way more than you should. Maybe you're doing drugs, maybe you're watching porn, or whatever that is there. You're doing a lot more negative things to your body and to your mind there versus what the holidays are supposed to be about, right? Which is spending time with your family, celebrating, got through another year and things like that. And you're looking forward to the next year versus a lot of people, man, they're not looking forward to next year at all. And especially in today's economic environment and where we're at, 2025 for a lot of family farm operations, just being truthful with you, is going to be the year of reckoning for them, because all the decisions they made in 21, 22, when we had higher grain prices, buying things they shouldn't have bought, kicking their tax liability or the tax bill down the road a few years, that's all going to come to a head in 2025. And a lot of people are going to go out of business. And I'm not saying that out of theory. I'm saying it because I witnessed it back in the 2010s as well, and going through that time period when I was in the bank. But at the end of the day, when are you going to do something about this? Because it has to stop. Right? Same thing for me back then. It had to stop. Like, I had to make changes. I had to take ownership. I had to finally start doing these things that I know God was calling me to do without giving a shit what anybody else thought about it. I'm not trying to be rude when I'm saying that or inconsiderate of other people's feelings or anything like that. But at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you in your life. And sometimes, yeah, there's going to be other people that disagree with you. Okay. That's part of it. Like, we're all entitled to our own opinion, but you know that God is calling you to do something different, whatever that may be. Man, the longer you prolong listening to him, the more painful it is going to become. And I'm speaking from absolute experience when I talk about that. So that's what I got. That's what I got for today's episode, because I know a lot of you guys are going to be rolling into the end of the year here. Some of you, I hope it's a great end of the year because you're on top of your numbers, you're on top of your business, you had a great year, even though prices went down, but you're still profitable, you still have your game plan and everything in place for next year, which is where I want all of our customers to be out in Legacy Farmer. But I know there's a lot of you that are going to be drinking way more than you should, doing things you shouldn't be doing, and just sedating away the holidays, which is why I called it this, because you're just trying to get through the end of the year and you don't even want to think about next year because it's so painful in your mind, you don't even want to face it. And again, I totally get where you're at there, brother. So, all right, guys, hope you took away something, valuable from this episode here, but more importantly, I hope you start taking action, right? So going back to the question I asked, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to make 2025 different than 2024? Or is it just going to be the same cycle over and over again until eventually you go bankrupt, or things much worse than that I don't have to say on a podcast? You can tell from what I'm talking about, that we deal with all the time inside the ag industry. I do not want people to get there because there's so many people. Man, there's so many good people in this industry, so many families that deserve to succeed, and they're just trying to find their way. And that's where we're trying to help, with Legacy Farmer in the ways that we can there. And really the only way that we can there, which from my point of view, is knowing the numbers, right? Because once we know the numbers, even if they look terrible, hey, at least we have a starting point here. We know now some things that we need to change here, and we can start down the journey versus just hoping and praying every year and just avoiding those things that we know God is telling us to face. So, all right, guys, hope you guys all have a great holiday season. I hope you took away some powerful things from this episode. And more importantly, I hope you take action because of it. So we will catch you on the next episode.